Velthar opened his eyes slowly. The lights above him were too bright. Everything hurt. His body felt wrong, broken in places he could not name. He tried to move his arm, but it would not respond. Panic filled his chest for a moment before he remembered where he was. The medical bay. The Galactic Council station. He was alive. That thought brought no comfort. A figure moved into his vision. It was tall and thin with gray skin and 4 eyes. Velthar recognized the species immediately. A Cauldron investigator. They were known throughout the galaxy for their thorough work and their complete lack of emotion. "You are awake," the investigator said. Its voice was flat and cold. "My name is Prilmoth. I am here to understand what happened at New Cheonan." Velthar closed his eyes. He did not want to remember. He did not want to speak about it. But he knew he had no choice. The Galactic Council wanted answers. They needed to know why an entire Kryn fleet had been destroyed by a species that most of the galaxy still considered primitive. "How long have I been here?" Velthar asked. His voice was rough and weak. 3 months, Prilmoth replied. "Your injuries were severe. The medical staff was not certain you would survive." 3 months. It felt like yesterday. It felt like a lifetime ago. "The Council wants a full report," Prilmoth continued. "We need to understand the humans. We need to know what happened." Velthar laughed, but there was no joy in the sound. It was bitter and filled with pain. "You want to understand the humans? No one can understand them. That is what makes them so dangerous." Prilmoth moved closer. One of its long fingers touched a device on its wrist, and a recording light appeared in the air between them. "Begin at the start. Tell me everything." Velthar stared at the ceiling for a long moment. Then he began to speak. "It was supposed to be simple," he said. "The Kryn Empire had been expanding for 300 years. We had conquered 40 systems. We had defeated 20 different species. We were strong. We were feared. When we found the human colony world of New Cheonan, we thought it would be like all the others." He paused, remembering the confidence they had all felt. The certainty of victory. The humans had only achieved faster-than-light travel 20 years before we found them. They were children playing with technology they barely understood. Or so we thought. Fleet Commander Thexnor called them insects. He said we would crush them in days and move on to the next target. "What were your orders?" Prilmoth asked. "Standard subjugation protocol," Velthar replied. "Destroy their orbital defenses. Destroy their military installations, land-ground forces. Occupy the government centers. Force their leaders to surrender." It had worked on every other species we had encountered, but not with humans. "No," Velthar said quietly, "not with humans." He closed his eyes and let the memory wash over him. He could see it all again as if he were still there. The fleet dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Cheonan system. 30 ships, thousands of soldiers, weapons that could crack a planet's crust. "We sent them the standard message," Velthar continued. "Surrender or be destroyed." We gave them 12 hours to respond. Commander Thexnor was certain they would surrender. What choice did they have? They had 6 orbital defense platforms and maybe 20 military ships. We had 30 warships and enough firepower to turn their cities to glass. "What did they say?" Prilmoth asked. Velthar opened his eyes. Even now, the memory of that response sent a chill through his body. "They said no." "Just no?" "Not exactly," Velthar corrected. "The human who responded was named Daijung. He was their defense coordinator. He spoke calmly without anger or fear. He said, 'We do not surrender. We do not bow. If you want this world, you will have to take it from our dead hands. And we promise you the cost will be more than you can imagine.'" Prilmoth's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. An emotional response. Most species make such threats when faced with superior force. It means nothing. "That is what Commander Thexnor said," Velthar replied. He laughed. He ordered the attack to begin immediately. He said the humans would learn what it meant to refuse the Kryn Empire. The first attack had gone exactly as planned. The Kryn fleet moved forward in perfect formation, their weapons locked onto the human orbital platforms. The humans fired first, but their weapons were weak, primitive. The Kryn shields absorbed the damage easily. Then the Kryn returned fire. "We destroyed all 6 of their orbital platforms in the first hour," Velthar said. "Their military ships tried to fight, but they were too slow, too weak. We destroyed 15 of them. The remaining 5 retreated to the planet's surface." "So you had achieved orbital superiority," Prilmoth noted. "Yes. Commander Thexnor was pleased. He began the bombardment of their military installations, bases, weapons factories, communication centers. We hit them all. The humans could not stop us. From orbit, we were untouchable. Then what happened? We waited for their surrender, Veltar said. After 3 days of bombardment, we stopped and sent another message. We told them to surrender, or we would begin targeting their cities. We expected them to give up. Any reasonable species would have given up. But the humans did not. No, Veltar said. Captain Daejung sent another message. This one was different. He said, "You have destroyed our military bases. You have killed our soldiers. You think this makes you strong. You think this makes us weak. You are wrong. You have only made us angry. Come to the surface. See what angry humans can do." Commander Thexnor had been furious. Veltar remembered the rage on his commander's face. The Kryn did not tolerate defiance. They did not accept challenges from lesser species. Commander Thexnor ordered the ground invasion. Veltar continued. He sent 10,000 soldiers in the first wave. I was in the second wave, another 10,000. We were ordered to land in the capital city and secure the government buildings. It should have taken hours, days at most. Prilmoth leaned forward slightly. What happened instead? Veltar was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was barely above a whisper. We learned that humans do not know how to surrender. We learned that they do not separate their soldiers from their civilians. We learned that every human, from the oldest to the youngest, is willing to die rather than submit. And we learned that dying is not something humans fear. It is something they use. The investigator's 4 eyes focused intently on Veltar. Explain. The first wave landed in the capital city, Veltar said. They secured the landing zones. They began moving toward the government buildings. Then the humans attacked, not from military positions, not from fortified locations. They attacked from everywhere. From buildings, from underground, from the sky. The humans had turned their entire city into a weapon. He could still hear the screams over the communication channels, the confusion, the panic. The Kryn had fought many species, but never one like this. The first wave lost 3,000 soldiers in the first 6 hours, Veltar said. Commander Thexnor sent in the second wave immediately. That was when I landed. That was when I saw them for the first time. The humans. And I understood that we had made a terrible mistake. The transport ship shook as it descended through the atmosphere. Veltar gripped his weapon tightly and looked at the other soldiers around him. They all wore the same expression, confidence. The Kryn were warriors. They had done this many times before on many worlds. Landing, fighting, winning. But something felt different this time. The communication channels were filled with chatter from the first wave. The voices were tense, angry, confused. That was unusual. Normally, by this point in an invasion, the first wave would have secured their objectives and would be waiting for reinforcements. Instead, they were calling for immediate support. The transport landed hard in the middle of what had once been a large plaza. Veltar and his unit rushed out, weapons ready. The city around them was burning. Smoke filled the air. The smell of chemicals and death was everywhere. Move to Sector 7, the unit commander barked. First wave needs support. They ran through the streets. Veltar had been in many cities on many worlds, but this one felt wrong. The buildings were damaged, some completely destroyed. But it was more than that. The city felt alive, like it was watching them, waiting. They heard the fighting before they saw it. Weapons fire, explosions, screaming. They rounded a corner and Veltar saw the first wave soldiers. They were pinned down behind broken vehicles and chunks of concrete. They were firing at buildings, at windows, at shadows. Where are the enemies? Veltar asked. Everywhere, a first wave soldier shouted back. They are everywhere. As if to prove the point, an explosion erupted from a building to their left. 3 Kryn soldiers were thrown through the air. Before Veltar could react, weapons fire came from above. He looked up and saw humans on the rooftops. They fired and then disappeared. Return fire, the commander ordered. The Kryn soldiers fired at the rooftops, but the humans were already gone. Then more fire came from a different building. Then another. The humans were not fighting like soldiers. They were fighting like ghosts. Velthar's unit spread out, trying to find cover. He ducked behind a destroyed vehicle and tried to understand what was happening. This was not how battles were supposed to work. Enemies were supposed to have positions, lines, formations, but the humans had none of these things. They appeared, fired, and vanished. A human ran across the street. Velthar fired but missed. The human disappeared into a building. 2 Kryn soldiers followed. Velthar heard gunfire inside the building. Then silence. The 2 Kryn soldiers did not come back out. "Do not follow them into buildings," the commander shouted. "They know the terrain, we do not. Hold positions and advance slowly." But there were no positions to hold. The humans had destroyed their own city. Every street was blocked with rubble. Every building was a potential hiding spot. Every shadow could contain death. Velthar saw movement to his right. A human woman emerged from behind a pile of concrete. She was not wearing a military uniform. She wore simple clothes, now covered in dust and blood. She was carrying wounded civilians on a stretcher with another human. They moved quickly across the open space toward a building marked with a red symbol. "Medics," someone said. "Do not fire." The Kryn had rules about medics. They were not targets unless they became combatants. Velthar watched the woman help the wounded into the medical building. She disappeared inside. 5 minutes later, the same woman emerged. But now she was carrying a rifle. She moved to a window and began firing at Kryn positions. She was not a medic anymore. She was a soldier. Velthar could not understand it. On every other world, there were soldiers and there were civilians. The lines were clear, but here the woman had been both in the span of minutes. She had saved lives and now she was taking them. "Target that building," the commander ordered. Heavy weapons fire slammed into the medical building. Velthar watched as the structure began to collapse. He waited to see the humans run out, but no one did. The building fell and everyone inside died, including the wounded civilians the woman had just saved. They would rather die than be captured. A soldier next to Velthar said, "What kind of species does that?" Velthar did not have an answer. The fighting continued for hours. The Kryn pushed forward slowly. Every street cost them soldiers. Every building was a battle. And the humans never stopped, even when they were outnumbered. Even when they had no chance of winning. They kept fighting. As the sun began to set, Velthar's unit reached what their map said was a government building. It was large and partially destroyed. The commander ordered them to secure it. They entered carefully, checking every room. The building seemed empty. They reached the top floor and found an operations center. Computers, maps, communication equipment. It looked like it had been abandoned in a hurry. "Good," the commander said. "We can use this as a forward base. Get the equipment working." Velthar and 3 other soldiers began working on the computers. The others secured the floors below. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. That was when Velthar heard a voice. It was coming from a radio on the wall. A human voice. Speaking in Kryn language. "Hello, invaders," the voice said. It was calm. Almost friendly. "My name is Tabin. I am the commander of this sector. You are currently in Building 7, floors 3 through 6. I want you to know something. You are not in a government building. You're in a trap." The commander grabbed the radio. "This is Commander Kexavale of the Kryn Empire. You are defeated. Surrender now," the human voice laughed. "Defeated? No. We are just getting started. You think you have won because you occupy our city? You think you are safe in our buildings? Let me teach you something about humans. We do not fight to win battles. We fight to win wars, and wars are not won by holding ground. They are won by making the enemy want to leave." "Threats from a defeated enemy mean nothing," Kexval said. "This is not a threat," Tabin replied. "This is a lesson. You are in our city now. You are in our territory. You do not know which buildings are safe. You do not know which streets are trapped. You do not know which civilians are fighters. Every moment you stay here, you will lose soldiers. Every day will cost you more. How long can your empire afford this? How many of your soldiers will die for one city? For one planet?" Kexval turned off the radio. Empty words. They are trying to scare us. But Velthar could see the uncertainty in the commander's eyes. They all could. That night, Velthar's unit stayed in the building. They set guards. They tried to rest. But no one could sleep. Every sound made them jump. Every shadow seemed to hide an enemy. At midnight, the humans attacked. It came from below. Explosions ripped through the lower floors. The building shook. Velthar grabbed his weapon and ran for the stairs. But the stairs were gone, destroyed. His unit was trapped on the upper floors, the windows. Someone shouted, "We can use ropes!" They began lowering themselves down the outside of the building. Velthar was halfway down when the firing started. Humans emerged from the buildings around them. They fired at the Kryn soldiers hanging helplessly on the ropes. Velthar saw Commander Kexval fall, saw 3 other soldiers fall. He reached the ground and ran. Did not think, did not plan, just ran. He found cover in a collapsed building and hid there. For 3 days, Velthar stayed hidden in that building. He could hear the fighting outside, could hear the Kryn soldiers calling for help, could hear the humans hunting them. He had some food, some water. He waited. On the 3rd day, he heard the announcement over the Kryn military channel. All ground forces were ordered to retreat to the landing zones. The invasion was being suspended. Commander Thexnor was ordering a withdrawal to orbit. Velthar made his way carefully through the ruins. He saw dead Kryn soldiers everywhere. He also saw dead humans. So many dead humans. But the humans were still there. Still fighting. Still refusing to surrender. When he finally reached the landing zone and got on a transport, he learned the truth. The Kryn had landed 20,000 soldiers. After 5 days of fighting, fewer than 12,000 were leaving. 8,000 dead. For one city. On one planet. As the transport lifted off, Velthar looked down at the burning city below. He could see the humans gathering in the streets. They were not celebrating. They were preparing. Building defenses. Getting ready for the next attack. That was when Velthar realized the truth. The humans had not been trying to defeat the Kryn ground forces. They had been teaching them a lesson. Showing them the cost. Making them understand that taking this world would require every soldier they had. And even then they might not succeed. Velthar stood in the cargo bay of the destroyer Crimson Talon and tried to forget what he had seen on the surface. Around him, other survivors from the ground assault were doing the same. They were supposed to be warriors. They were supposed to be conquerors. But they stood in silence, staring at nothing, remembering things they wished they could forget. "Attention all ships." Commander Thexnor's voice came over the ship-wide communication system. "The ground assault has been suspended. But this does not mean we have failed. The humans have chosen to resist. They have forced us to take stronger measures. We will begin orbital bombardment of all major cities in 6 hours. After we have destroyed their infrastructure and killed their will to fight, we will return to the surface and accept their surrender." Velthar felt no satisfaction hearing these words. On other worlds, such an announcement would have brought cheers. Victory was close. But here, with the humans, he was not so sure. The humans he had seen did not have a will that could be killed. They did not have a spirit that could be broken. He went to his quarters and tried to rest, but sleep would not come. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the human woman, the medic who became a fighter. He wondered if she had died when the building collapsed. He wondered if she cared. Hours passed. The announcement came that the bombardment would begin soon. Velthar went to the observation deck to watch. He told himself he needed to see it. Needed to understand what happened when the Kryn Empire's patience ran out. The fleet moved into bombardment position. 30 ships arranged in a careful pattern above the planet. Their weapons charged, ready to rain fire on the cities below. Then the alarm started. Multiple faster-than-light signatures detected. Someone shouted, "Ships entering the system!" Velthar felt his heart skip. Reinforcements? The humans had sent for help? How many ships? Commander Thexnor demanded over the communication channel. 12 contacts, Commander. They are small. Frigate and destroyer class. No capital ships. There was a pause. Then Thexnor laughed. 12 ships? They send 12 ships against our fleet? They truly are fools. All ships combat formation. We will destroy these reinforcements and then proceed with the bombardment. The Kryn fleet began to move. Velthar watched on the observation deck displays as the human ships approached. They were small, old. Some of them looked like they had been civilian vessels modified for war. It made no sense. Why would the humans send such a small, weak force? Then the human ships began broadcasting on all channels. A voice filled every speaker in the fleet. It was cold, flat, without emotion, but somehow it was the most terrifying thing Velthar had ever heard. "This is Admiral Hyunwoo of the Human Defense Fleet. You have attacked our colony. You have killed our people. You have targeted our cities where our children live. There is no forgiveness for this. There is no mercy. There is only what we do to those who harm our young." "Empty threats," Thexnor replied. "You have 12 ships. We have 30. Your weapons are inferior. Your ships are slow. You cannot win this battle. We know, Admiral Hyunwoo said. We are not here to win. We are here to teach you a lesson. We are here to show you what happens when you make an enemy of humanity. We are here to make sure you remember. The human ships accelerated. They were not moving into a battle formation. They were not trying to create a defensive line. They were charging directly at the Kryn fleet. They are going to ram us, someone shouted. Impossible, Thexnor said. No species would sacrifice their ships in such a manner. It is illogical. They will break off. But the humans did not break off. The first human ship, a small frigate, crashed directly into a Kryn cruiser. Both ships exploded in a massive fireball. Debris spread in all directions. The Kryn fleet was still trying to understand what had happened when the second human ship struck. This one was a destroyer. It crashed into another cruiser, but not head-on. It scraped along the side, its engines overloading. The explosion tore a massive hole in the cruiser's hull. Atmosphere and bodies spilled into space. All ships, evasive maneuvers, Thexnor ordered. Do not let them get close. But the human ships were fast. Faster than they should have been. Velthar realized they had stripped out everything that was not essential. Weapons, armor, life support beyond what was absolutely necessary. They had turned their ships into missiles. A small human corvette, the Soul's Vengeance, came straight at the Crimson Talon. The Kryn destroyer fired every weapon it had. The human ship's shields collapsed. Armor burned away, but it kept coming. Velthar ran from the observation deck. He knew what was about to happen. He needed to get to the escape pods. He needed to get away. The corvette crashed into the Talon's engine section. The impact threw Velthar to the floor. The ship groaned. Metal screamed. The lights flickered. Emergency announcements filled the corridors. Engine failure. Multiple hull breaches. All personnel to emergency stations. Velthar got to his feet and kept running. Other crew members were doing the same. Panic filled the ship. This was not supposed to happen. The Kryn did not lose. They did not get attacked like this. He reached a terminal and pulled up the tactical display. What he saw made his blood cold. Of the 30 Kryn ships, 8 were already destroyed. 5 more were severely damaged. And the remaining human ships were still attacking. A human fighter appeared on the display. Just one small fighter. It was damaged, burning. Its pilot should have ejected, should have tried to survive. Instead, the fighter accelerated toward a Kryn battleship. Velthar watched as the fighter crashed into the battleship's bridge. One tiny fighter, one human pilot. She had killed everyone commanding that ship with her final act. This is Admiral Hyunwoo. The voice came over the communication channels again. But now it was different, strained. The Admiral was injured. Velthar could hear it in his voice. Kryn fleet, you came to our world thinking we were weak. You thought we would beg. You thought we would surrender. You were wrong. This is the price. Remember it. Tell your empire. Tell your people. Tell them what happened here. Tell them what humans do when you threaten our children. Velthar pulled up the display showing Admiral Hyunwoo's ship. It was the largest of the human vessels. A destroyer. It was burning, dying, but it was still moving. Still heading toward the remaining Kryn ships. All remaining human vessels, Hyunwoo said. Final attack. Make it count. Make them remember. The last 5 human ships accelerated. They did not aim for the biggest ships. They did not aim for the most dangerous ones. They aimed for the ships that were trying to retreat. The ships that were damaged. They aimed to kill, not to win. One by one, the human ships crashed into their targets. One by one, Kryn vessels died. And one by one, the humans sacrificed themselves. Admiral Hyunwoo's destroyer was the last. It was barely functioning. Most of it was destroyed. But its engines still worked. Velthar watched as it headed toward the command ship. Toward Commander Thexnor's vessel. All weapons fire on that ship. Thexnor screamed. Stop it now. Every Kryn ship that could still fire opened up. Weapons lit up space. The human destroyer was hit again and again. Pieces broke off. Explosions rippled across its hull. But it kept coming. Tell your empire, Admiral Hyunwoo said. His voice was barely a whisper now. Humanity remembers. Humanity avenges. And humanity never stops. The destroyer crashed into the command ship's side. The explosion was massive. Both ships broke apart. Commander Thexnor was dead. Admiral Hyunwoo was dead. Hundreds of Kryn and dozens of humans died in that moment. And then it was over. The Kryn fleet was in chaos. Of 30 ships, only 13 remained fully operational. 5 were barely functioning. 12 were destroyed. Over 15,000 Kryn soldiers and crew were dead. The humans had sent 12 ships. All 12 were destroyed. Every human who came to fight was dead. But they had accomplished their goal. They had made the Kryn understand. Velthar made his way through the damaged corridors of the Talon. The ship was dying. Life support was failing. The engines were gone. They were drifting. He reached the main cargo bay where survivors were gathering. Maybe 50 Kryn were there. 50 out of a crew of 300. They stood in silence. No one spoke. What was there to say? A junior officer was trying to get the communication systems working. Finally, he succeeded. Messages started coming through from the other surviving ships. They were calling for retreat, calling for withdrawal. The invasion was over. Velthar sat down against a wall. He thought about the human admiral, thought about how he had sacrificed himself and his entire fleet, not because he could win, but because he wanted the Kryn to remember, wanted them to understand that attacking humanity came with a price. And in that moment, sitting in the ruins of his ship, surrounded by the dead and dying, Velthar understood. The humans had not been trying to destroy the Kryn fleet. They had been sending a message. And that message was clear. We will die before we surrender, and we will make you pay for every human life you take. The Kryn could win battles against humanity. But could they win a war? Could they afford the cost? Velthar did not think so. Not if every battle cost them this much. Not if the humans were willing to sacrifice everything just to make a point. The Crimson Talon drifted through space like a dying animal. The lights flickered on and off. The air was cold and thin. Velthar and the other survivors huddled in the cargo bay, sharing what little oxygen the emergency systems could provide. 2 days had passed since the battle. 2 days of waiting, hoping. Some believed rescue would come. The surviving Kryn ships had jumped away to faster-than-light speed, fleeing the system. They had promised to send help, but Velthar did not believe help would come in time. Contact on sensors, someone said weakly. Multiple ships entering the system. A small cheer went up from the survivors. Rescue. Finally. But then the communication system crackled to life. And the voice that came through was human. Attention Kryn survivors. This is Captain J. Hoon of the mining vessel Iron Mountain. We have detected your distress signals. We are here to offer assistance. Silence filled the cargo bay. Then someone laughed. It was a bitter, hopeless sound. They are here to finish us, a soldier said. No, another replied. Even humans follow the rules of war. They will take us prisoner. The battle is over. Velthar was not so sure. He had seen what humans did to those who threatened their children. He had heard Admiral Hyunwoo's last words. This was not about rules. This was about revenge. We are scanning the area for survivors, Jae-hoon's voice continued. Any Kryn still alive should respond with your location. We will come to you. It is a trick, someone whispered. They want us to reveal ourselves. But what choice did they have? The Talon had maybe 12 hours of emergency power left. After that, life support would fail completely. They would suffocate in the dark. The ranking officer among the survivors made the decision. He activated the communication system. This is Officer Velthar of the Crimson Talon. We have approximately 50 survivors. We require immediate assistance. Understood, Jae-hoon replied. We see your position. We are sending ships to you now. Velthar moved to one of the few working terminals and pulled up the external sensors. He could see them now. 6 human ships, but they were not military vessels. They were miners, haulers, civilian ships, the kind of vessels that moved cargo between planets and moons. Why are civilians here? Someone asked. Where is their military? Velthar had a terrible feeling he knew the answer. These were not soldiers coming to take prisoners. These were the families of those who had died. These were the people from the nearby systems who had heard about the attack on New Cheonan. These were humans who wanted revenge. All Kryn personnel, prepare to be boarded, Jae-hoon announced. Do not resist. Put down any weapons. If you cooperate, you will be treated fairly. The survivors looked at each other. Slowly, they put down their weapons. What else could they do? The human ships docked with the Talon at various airlocks. Velthar heard the sound of them cutting through the sealed doors. Then boots on metal floors, voices, humans moving through the ship. The cargo bay doors opened. Humans entered. They wore environmental suits and carried weapons. But these were not military weapons. They were mining tools, cutting lasers, blast charges, the tools of people who broke apart asteroids for a living. The leader removed his helmet. He was an older human with gray hair and tired eyes. Jae-hoon. "I am going to be honest with you," Jae-hoon said. His voice was calm, too calm. "Many of us here lost family on New Cheonan. My brother lived there, my nieces. They are dead now because of your attack. So you need to understand something. We are not military. We do not have to follow military rules. We do not have to take prisoners." The cargo bay was silent. Velthar could feel the fear radiating from the other survivors. "However," Jae-hoon continued, "I am also not a murderer, so here is what will happen. We are going to search this ship. We are going to find all the survivors, and then we are going to decide what to do with you." He turned and gestured. More humans entered the cargo bay. One of them was a woman. She was younger than Jae-hoon. Her face was hard, cold. Her eyes held nothing but hate. "This is Soo-jin," Jae-hoon said. "She was a teacher on New Cheonan. Her school was hit in your bombardment. 30 children died. Her daughter was one of them. She volunteered to lead the boarding teams." Soo-jin walked forward. She looked at each Kryn survivor with those cold eyes. "You came to our world," she said. "You killed our children. You destroyed our homes. And for what? Territory? Resources? Power? You killed innocents for things that do not matter." She stopped in front of Velthar. "I want you to know something. The humans who died fighting your fleet, they were not soldiers. Most of them were not. They were miners, engineers, pilots. They volunteered. They knew they would die, but they chose to die anyway, just to hurt you, just to make you understand that attacking humanity has consequences. We surrender," Velthar said quietly. "The battle is over. We are prisoners." "The battle is not over," Soo-jin replied. "The battle will not be over until every Kryn who participated in the attack is dead, or until you leave our territory and never return. Those are the only two ways this ends." She turned to the other humans. "Search the ship. Find all survivors. Bring them to the main hangar bay." The humans moved through the Talon methodically. They checked every room, every corridor, every hiding place. Velthar and the others were forced to move through the ship. They collected more survivors along the way. By the time they reached the main hangar bay, there were 63 Kryn. 63 survivors from a ship that had carried 300. They were forced to stand in a line. The humans watched them. Some of the humans were crying. Others looked angry. A few looked sick, like they did not want to be there but could not leave. One human, a younger man wearing engineer's markings, stepped forward. "Captain Jae-hoon, I cannot do this. These are prisoners. We should hand them over to proper authorities." "Proper authorities?" Soo-jin said. "Who?" "The Galactic Council? The same council that did nothing when the Kryn attacked 3 other species in the last decade. The same council that will give these Kryn a trial and then let them go home. No, this is human justice now. If we kill prisoners, we are no better than they are," the engineer argued. His name patch said Dong-hyun. "They targeted our children," Soo-jin said. Her voice was shaking now, emotion breaking through. "They killed babies. Babies, Dong-hyun. Babies who had no weapons, no way to fight back. And you want to give them justice? You want to give them a trial?" Jae-hoon held up his hand. "Enough, both of you are right. Dong-hyun is right that we should not become monsters. Soo-jin is right that they deserve to pay. So here is my decision." He walked down the line of Kryn prisoners. "We will not kill all of you, but we will not save all of you either. We will select a few. The ones we select will be taken back to human territory. They will be prisoners. They will be held until the war ends. The rest," he did not finish the sentence. "He did not need to. That is still murder," Dong-hyun protested. "No," Jae-hoon said. "This is survival. If we take all of them prisoner, we risk them being rescued. We risk them returning to fight us again. But if we leave most of them here on this dead ship, drifting in space, well, that is just unfortunate. We did not have enough room on our ships. We did not have enough supplies. It is not our fault they could not all be saved." Velthar understood. The humans were going to let most of them die, but they would make it look like an accident, like they had tried to save them but could not. That way they could maintain some level of moral superiority. Even while committing murder, it was clever, cold, calculated, very human. Sujin walked down the line, studying each Kryn. She stopped at Velthar. "This one," she said. "He looks like he has information." He was on the surface. He saw what happened there. "Please," Velthar said. "I was just following orders." I do not care what you wanted," Sujin interrupted. "I care what you did. You came to our world. You killed our people. Those are facts. Your intentions do not matter." She selected 4 more Kryn. 5 total, including Velthar. "The rest of you," Jehun announced, "will stay here. We will leave you emergency supplies, oxygen, food, water. Enough for a week. The Kryn Empire knows where you are. If they send rescue ships, you will be saved. If they do not," he did not finish. He did not need to. The humans began moving out. The 5 selected Kryn were taken with them. Velthar looked back at the others, at the 58 who were being left behind. Some were crying, some were angry, some just looked resigned to their fate. As they moved through the corridors toward the human ships, Dong-hyun walked beside Velthar. "I am sorry," he said quietly. "This is not right, but I could not stop it." "Why did you speak up?" Velthar asked. The others did not. "Because someone has to," Dong-hyun replied. "If we become monsters to fight monsters, then what is the point? What are we protecting?" Velthar did not answer. He did not know what to say. They reached the human ships and were loaded into holding cells, basic, clean, not cruel. The humans were not torturing them. They were just making sure they could not escape. As the ships undocked from the Talon, Velthar looked out a small window. He could see the destroyer drifting away, could see the 58 Kryn still aboard, waiting, hoping for rescue that might never come. "Why keep me alive?" Velthar asked Sujin, who was guarding them. She looked at him with those cold, dead eyes. "Because Captain Jehun is right about one thing." Velthar finished speaking. His voice was hoarse. He had been talking for hours, reliving every moment, every horror, every lesson learned in Blood and Fire. Investigator Prilmoth had not moved during the entire story. Its 4 eyes remained focused on Velthar. Its expression, if it had one, remained neutral. Finally it spoke. "A detailed account," Prilmoth said, "but I still do not understand. The galaxy has 47 known warrior species. Many are more technologically advanced than humans. Many have larger armies, better weapons, stronger ships. Yet your report suggests that humans are somehow uniquely dangerous. Explain this conclusion." Velthar leaned back against his medical bed. The pain medication was wearing off. His body hurt, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the memories. "You do not understand because you think like a cauldron," Velthar said. "You think like most species. You see war as a calculation. Resources versus objectives. Costs versus benefits. You fight until the math says you should stop. But humans are different." "How?" "Humans do not fight for resources," Velthar explained. "They do not fight for territory. I mean, they do, but those are not the real reasons. Humans fight for ideas, for honor, for revenge, for protection of their young. These things have no calculable value. You cannot measure them. You cannot buy them. You cannot negotiate with them." Prilmoth tilted its head slightly. "All species protect their offspring. This is not unique." "But humans take it further," Velthar insisted. "When we attacked New Cheonan, we attacked a colony. Just one planet among dozens. The logical response would have been to evacuate, to surrender, to preserve lives and resources for a later counterattack. Instead, the humans chose to fight a battle they could not win. Why? Because we threatened their children? That single fact overrode all logic, all calculation, all sense." He paused, remembering Admiral Hyun-woo's final words. "Do you know what the most terrifying thing about humans is?" Velthar asked. "They understand that they are going to die. Every human knows this, and instead of fearing it, they use it. Death is not something that happens to them. It is a tool, a weapon. They throw their lives away not because they are stupid, but because they have decided that dying for the right reason is better than living without purpose." "Irrational," Prilmoth observed. "Yes," Velthar agreed. "Completely irrational. And that is what makes them so dangerous. You cannot fight an enemy that does not care about surviving. You cannot negotiate with someone who would rather die than compromise. You cannot win a war against a species that sees death as victory." Prilmoth made a notation on its device. "The Kryn Empire has withdrawn from human territory?" "Yes," Velthar said bitterly. 3 days after the battle at New Cheonan, the Empire sued for peace. We agreed to withdraw from all systems within 20 light years of human colonies. We paid reparations. We formally apologized. The mighty Kryn Empire, which has conquered 20 species, surrendered to a species we could have defeated militarily. Then why did you surrender? Velthar laughed. It hurt. Because we saw what was coming. Our intelligence showed that humanity was mobilizing. Not just their military. Everyone, every factory was being converted to weapons production. Every civilian ship was being modified for war. Every human from the youngest to the oldest was preparing to fight. He leaned forward, his voice intense. We had 30 ships at New Cheonan. We lost 17. The humans lost 12. But they were already building more. Hundreds more. And every ship would have a crew that was willing to die. Every ship would be a weapon aimed at our heart. We could win every battle and still lose the war because the humans were willing to pay any price. The Empire looked at the math and realized the truth. We could conquer human space, but it would cost us everything. Every ship. Every soldier. Our entire civilization would be focused on fighting humans while our other enemies circled like predators. Prilmoth processed this information. So the Kryn withdrew not because they could not win, but because victory would be too expensive. Exactly, Velthar said. And that is the warning I want to give to the galaxy. Humans can be defeated. Their technology can be overcome. Their ships can be destroyed. But defeating them is not the same as winning. Because to defeat humanity, you must be willing to sacrifice everything, and most species are not willing to do that. There is one thing I still do not understand, Prilmoth said. The human ship captain, Mincio, the one who crashed her corvette into your destroyer. According to your account, she could have escaped. Her crew begged her to abandon the attack, yet she chose to die. Why? Velthar closed his eyes. He had thought about this question many times. He had tried to understand. I listened to the communication logs later, he said quietly. When the human crew asked Captain Mincio why she would not escape, do you know what she said? She said, because someone has to show them we mean it. That is why she died. Not to destroy the Talon, not to win the battle, but to send a message, to make sure the Kryn understood that humans meant every word of their threats. He opened his eyes and looked at Prilmoth. That is what makes humans terrifying. They weaponize everything, including their own deaths. Captain Mincio knew that her sacrifice would be remembered, would be talked about, would scare future enemies, and she was right. I am here telling you about her right now. Her death accomplished exactly what she intended. Prilmoth stood. I have enough information. The Galactic Council will receive my report. Thank you for your cooperation, Velthar. Wait, Velthar said. What will the Council do? That is not my concern, Prilmoth replied. I only gather information. Others make decisions, but Velthar had to try. Tell them. Tell the Council that humanity should be left alone. Tell them that any species that attacks humans will pay a price that cannot be calculated. Tell them, I will include your recommendations, Prilmoth interrupted. Then it left. Velthar sat alone in his medical room. He wondered what would happen now. Would the galaxy listen? Would they understand? Or would another species make the same mistake the Kryn had made? 3 days later, he heard the news. The Galactic Council had issued an official advisory. Humanity had been reclassified, no longer a minor emerging power. The new classification was extinction-level threat, avoid conflict at all costs. Some species protested. Some called humans primitive, barely advanced beyond their home system. How could such a species be rated so dangerous? But others, the ones who had studied the reports, who had listened to survivors like Velthar, they understood. They knew the truth. Velthar was eventually released from the medical facility. The Kryn Empire arranged for his transport home. But before he left, he made one request. He wanted to see Earth, the human homeworld, just from orbit. Just to see it, his request was granted. A human transport took him to the Sol system. They remained far out, at the edge of the system. But even from that distance, Velthar could see it. The constant traffic. Ships coming and going. Stations being built. Weapons platforms. Defense networks. The humans were not celebrating their victory. They were preparing for the next war. A human liaison officer, a man named Sang-Ho, came to speak with him. Why did you want to see Earth? I needed to understand, Velthar said. I needed to see where you come from. What made you the way you are? Sang-Ho looked at the planet on the display. Humans evolved on a death world, he said. Predators everywhere, diseases, natural disasters. For millions of years we fought just to survive. We learned that nothing is given. Everything must be taken or defended. That is our nature. We do not trust peace because peace has never protected us. Only strength. Only the willingness to fight, he turned to Velthar. Your empire made a choice at New Cheonan. You chose to attack a colony. You chose to kill civilians. You thought it would make us weak, scared. But you gave us something else. You gave us purpose, unity. A reason to remember why we became strong in the first place. I am sorry, Velthar said. He meant it. Sorry does not bring back the dead, Sang-Ho replied. But it is a start. Your empire has withdrawn, has paid reparations, has promised never to attack human space again. If you keep those promises, then maybe someday humans and Kryn can be neighbors, maybe even friends. But it will take generations. Because humans remember. We always remember. On Earth, in the city of Seoul, a memorial was being dedicated. Velthar watched it on a display. Thousands of humans gathered. The memorial was a large wall with names carved into it. Every person who died defending New Cheonan. Soldiers, civilians, children, everyone. A human child, a boy named Ye-jun, placed a flower at the base of the memorial. He was wearing a military academy uniform, training to be a soldier, training to make sure what happened at New Cheonan would never happen again. Commander Sang-Ho gave a speech. Even through the translator, his words were powerful. They came to our world thinking we were weak, thinking we would surrender, thinking we were just another species to be conquered. They were wrong. We showed them what humans do when threatened. We showed them that we do not break. We do not bow. We endure, we fight. We remember, and we make sure that anyone who harms our people understands the price. The crowd cheered. Velthar watched and felt a chill run through his body. He understood now, truly understood. Humanity was dangerous not because of their weapons, or their ships or their technology,